I got great news for you guys. There's another housing bubble. Yay! Rejoice! Now, you remember the last time the banks inflated the bubble by going around and giving the easiest mortgages of all time. They would have literally no documentation mortgages. They'd be like, okay, oh, you say your income's $1 million? Bingo, here's your house. Okay, I don't need any documentation on it. I don't care, if you can actually show me what your salary is or what your wealth is. Off you go. Why were they doing that? Now, if you're a bank, that seems like a ridiculous thing to do. Then they're not going to be able to pay their mortgage and it's going to explode on you. Wrong. They had already sold off those mortgages, so they made money on the fees, etc., and then they got rid of those mortgages, so they didn't care what happened. But more importantly, they would then turn around and bet on those mortgages. And the derivatives bets that they made on those mortgages were multiples of what the house was worth. So that allowed massive trillions of dollars worth of gambling, right? Now, the problem is, once they busted that casino, now, of course, the government didn't bust it, it busted it on itself. It imploded, right? And then exploded, right? It caved in, and the housing bubble burst, and the whole market went underground. And then literally the houses were underwater, as they say in the financial world, right? So once all that happened, well, then they didn't have the fund derivatives to bet with. So those were, exploded and they're gone, right? So they need new ones. Now, the housing market was not the only thing that they had derivatives on, but it was a fun little racket that they had going. So how are they rebuilding it now? Get a load of this. Now the banks are saying, oh yeah? Well, you said we didn't ask for documentation. Now we're going to ask for a ton of documentation, and we're going to require, instead of like nothing down as they were doing at the height of the last bubble, now they're saying you got to put a huge percentage down. Your down payment has to go, instead of being 10% or 20%, has to be 30, 40% in some cases. Well, they're being more prudent. That's good, right? No, here's how the new scam works. So the banks, since you can't buy it, right, and you don't have enough of a down payment, and they've made it extraordinarily hard for the documentation and the down payment, and they have all the cash, they're going in and buying the houses themselves. Isn't that interesting? So why are they doing that? So they buy the houses, then they turn them into rental properties. Meanwhile, they're driving up the prices on the houses, by the way, because they're limiting the market. That's another part of this racket. But meanwhile, the rental properties, they're like, well, we're dominating this market, so we don't really have to take care of those rentals. So there's a story of a woman that Huffington Post covered where there's mold inside the house. They refuse to take care of it for a long time, and then when they finally do, instead of taking out the mold, they paint over it. I don't know if you know how mold works, but that doesn't really help. Their front door is broken, so anybody can just walk in. In the middle of July, the air conditioning breaks. They won't fix it for nearly a month, right? Because they don't care. Now, part of it is that they almost have a monopoly in the market in some markets, as I'll explain to you in a second. And part of it is, that's not the real racket. The real racket is derivatives betting on the rental income. Here we go again. Okay, they're reconstituting that casino, man. That casino worked well for them for a long time. And I figured the last time it got busted up, we got bailed out anyway. So now some groups are onto them. In fact, 75 different housing and consumer groups got together and wrote a letter to the government saying, we are poised to experience another crisis if federal regulators fail to recognize and take corrective action to address red flags that are all too familiar. Of course, they're right about that. Now, to back them up, let me give you the case of Riverside, California. In Riverside, nearly 1/3 of tenants are spending more than half their income on rent. Isn't that amazing? So that's obviously unsustainable. Those renters are eventually going to say, no mas, I can't pay that rent, right? So when they do that, the bonds that these bankers are setting up, they're going to crash. Guess who's going to be betting against those bonds that they set up? The same banks. That's the scam that Goldman Sachs ran. They would make money by setting up bonds, betting on the housing market. Oh, look at this wonderful derivative we've set up, or CDS, go get them, okay, everybody buy that. And then they turn around and they would do a short on it. A short means betting that it crashes. So, and understand that there's a few companies that are buying up a ton of this real estate, and they're actually fronts for private equity groups. And that's not to say that it's nefarious. The private equity group says, yeah, that's my real estate company, right? For example, in Atlanta, institutional buyers like Colony, which is one of the major new housing companies, accounted for 1 in 4 sales in December. Isn't that amazing? Out of all the new home sales in Atlanta, 1/4 of them went to this one company, not to real human beings. It's not like Mary and John are moving in down, you don't know who to give the blueberry pie to. You got to give them to the colony, I guess, because they're buying up all the houses. If you think this isn't building up another bubble, you don't know how this stuff works. Okay, so one of the largest groups is called Blackstone, right? And Blackstone, after buying up these houses and doing the rental, well, guess what they did? Now they're issuing bonds backed by the rentals valued at $479 million. Now they started that in October of last year, and they're only getting bigger. In fact, the estimate is those market for new bonds will be up to $70 billion a year by 2016. Here we go. Blow that bubble back up. Only God knows when it'll explode. Will the government do anything about it? Will they bail them out after it blows up? Probably. Because in the very famous words of Dick Durbin now, about the banks, referring to Capitol Hill, frankly, they own this place.